Alrighty, so UFC Paris Nasruddin Imavov versus Kyle Brahalio has already taken place, and we move on to the next weekend, the next fight night card. Before, I think we're on a 2-week break, I want to say, something like that. It's going to be a while before the next card. I think the next one's in October 4th or 10th, something like that. So we're a month away from like another pay-per-view card. But with that being said, I'm here to break down this next fight night main event. Diego Lopez takes on Gene Silva at UFC Noche. Even though I don't think it's at the Sphere, I think it's somewhere else. I could be wrong on that. Regardless, all right, UFC Noche, Diego Lopez, Gene Silva takes place. I'm here to give you my picks and predictions. And if you feel like sticking around by the end of this video, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, stick around for the boys. Anyways, let's get into the predictions here. So, Rodrigo Cezinard, what the fuck? Where are we finding these fucking guys, bro? There's no way this guy's fought in the UFC. Yeah. Where is this guy fighting? Portal? What the fuck is that symbol? Samori MMA. So I feel like, needless to say, I don't watch these LF no one cares. Fucking one true, no one ask, okay, organizations. I'm a UFC fan. I've been watching for about 3 years. Like, what are we doing, man? Versus Daniel Donchenko. Like, what the Nazi? We found a Nazi, bro. Where are we finding these fucking people, bro? What the fuck? A Ukrainian who fights at Neza? What the fuck are we doing? Like, what am I looking at? We have an age listed here, and then we have, like, alright, well guys, this one's gonna be a little tough one to pick. I'm gonna go with the favorite here, because, you know, he's young, what can I say, you know, he might be taller, you know, he might be younger, you know, this is a rough look. Oh my god, man. What the fuck is this? Lightweight Kazakhstan? Welterweight Canada? What are we... I'm moving on. I don't care. I'm picking Dochenko. We're doing decision. I don't know these fighters. I don't... Maybe there's a, you know, someone out there who's rooting for these guys. I don't really care. Moving on. And we got a fucking women's fight. God fucking damn it, bro. Jesus Christ. Alright. Alice Pereira versus Montserrat Rendon. So if you don't know, some people, they use logic reasoning. Other people, they use, what's it called? They use a pick doctor, AI, stuff like that, right? I myself prefer the absolute expertise of a coin flip. Okay, so we're gonna go here. Heads is the woman on the left, tails is the woman on the right. And for your information, last card, coin went 1-0. Okay, so let's keep it going. Heads left, tails right. We got tails. Alright, who's that? Montserrat Rendon. I like this because I probably would have picked Montserrat Rendon. Why the fuck is she the underdog? That's interesting. Montserrat Rendon, I don't think is like good. But this Alice Pereira chick is, bro, 19 years old. Interesting. This feels like, because I've been seeing a lot of people like big up Alice Pereira. Some people are calling her like Pereira's fucking sister or whatever. It's not her, as far as I'm aware. She's 5-0 against nobodies. And then, well, I mean, it's women's to be fair. But you have like a legit, like, semi-experienced woman here, okay, at 36 years old. She's probably been training longer than this chick's been alive, alright? And that's saying something for women's MMA, okay? But this is just, like, I don't know, I feel like the only reason why you would go with Alice is because she's interesting for the sport, I guess. That's, like, the only reason you'd pick her. But I feel like every time we get these young, really touted prospects in the women's division. They always come, like Molly McCann, Wong Kong, shit like that. Like, they all come and everyone's like, oh my god, these guys are fucking elite. They're gonna slaughter everyone. Yeah, I just think she's probably gonna get smushed, probably subbed or something. Because if I'm not mistaken, Elise Pereira's a pure striker and not even like she doesn't. I don't think she's grappled in any of her fights. I think she probably gets it's one thing to shuck off takedowns, get laid on sometimes, you know, but I don't know. I think this is a big red flag. I think a lot of people are going to be betting on her because she's a favorite woman. So I'm happy the coin agrees with my logic and reasoning here. We're going Montserrat Randon premium 29-28 women's decision split, of course. Moving on, Alessandro Costa versus Alden Correa. What are we doing, man? Jesus Christ. Steve Ursag? Huh, interesting. Wait, this guy fought Steve Ursag and lost. Holy shit. That must have been a while ago. Steve has been on a fucking cold turkey streak recently. Kevin Borjas. Interesting. Like, where are they finding these fucking fighters? These guys are just two bums, and I'm just picking who's less of a bum. So I'm gonna go with the guy who's in the UFC, who's fought UFC dudes. I mean, hey, a win over Jimmy Flick means you can finish someone at flyweight. Let me tell you, okay? Jesus Christ. This is rough. I mean, his losses, to be fair, are like to two pretty good guys. I wouldn't bet anyone at flyweight at a -400 or higher. I don't care if it's Joshua Van versus a fucking can or whatever. You never know. All right. So I'm staying away from this fight. I'm not betting this. I might throw $10 on this card, guys. Okay, being full transparent. But I'm gonna go with Costa here because he's in the UFC, and this guy's getting. Is that a DQ? Or a draw? Well, it can't be a draw because he finished him, right? Is that a DQ in the B leagues? Yeah, I just can't pick him. He might be a little bit younger. Don't really care. I mean, he's taller, to be fair. But his reach is the same? That's kind of interesting. That's got to be false, right? No way. 4 inches. That's interesting. Huh. I don't know. I don't really care. This is just going to be a flyweight fight. It's probably going to be fun to watch. It's probably going to be entertaining. Flyweight fights are really entertaining, but I don't give a fuck about these two people. Whoever the shittier can is, you know, just cut him, even though, I mean, maybe not cut him, keeping him around to build records, I guess. You know, maybe the next Joshua Van comes around, okay, and we'll need another can to step up, so keep these guys around for that. But this is, I don't know, this seems like a yikes moment. Like, yeah, this guy hasn't fought anyone I've seen. He's he lost recently outside the UFC. Like, I don't like that, you know? Anyways, we're going with Costa. Don't really care. Moving on. Zach Reese versus Cedric Dumas. Oh, my God. We have two UFC fighters. Holy shit. Whoa, we're in big 2025. Having two UFC fighters fight on the prelim. Holy shit. Do my eyes deceive me? Now, these guys are shitters, but in my opinion, this is going to be like who deserves to be in the UFC, because both of these guys have been not great in the UFC so far. Cedric Dumas, you beat Dennis Tululin. Dennis Tululin's a fucking bum, okay? I could beat Dennis Tululin, maybe. You know, the Nursultan Ruzaboev, he did get eye poked, 1-2'd, Chris Weidman style. And he was down on the canvas. And he sort of covered up, and that's why they rolled it a TKO. They even showed Ruzaboev landing a 1-2 eye poke. You know, a Saitar, you know, a Cody Brundage win. It ain't too bad, guys. You know, I don't mind Cedric Dumas. I do think he's like all right, skill wise. Like, I think his striking is okay. Like, yeah, he's open on the feet sometimes, but I think he's like unranked. Yikes, middleweights, eh? Unranked middleweight, I think is fair. for his striking skill. And his grappling skill is pretty much non-existent, but he's been slowly like building it over time. He's sort of like, who is that guy, Mickey Gall, where he's like actively improving through UFC experience. So that's always nice to see. I do think Zach Reese is just going to be better. Longer, reachier. Yeah, he's taller, right? Holy, that's bullshit. There's no way he's got a shorter reach. Come fight day, I doubt this kid has a shorter reach. I feel like these stats are just wrong. But regardless, Zach Reese, spelled the proper way, okay? There's a lot of Zachs with a K, all right? We all know the right Zachs are spelled with the CH. But Zach Reese here, a little bit of a jiu-jitsu nerd, but I mean, the Jose Medina win's pretty good. Not good in hindsight, because Jose Medina has recently got finished pretty poorly, but that was to a Tepe Guitar, and Tepe Guitar is pretty fucking good. At least striking-wise. You know, the Marquez fight is good. He did get slammed by Cody Brundage. If you MMA math it, technically, Cedric should win this, but I just don't think that. I do genuinely think Zach Reese. The Dusko fight was close. Like, people forget, man. Dusko Tudorovic is pretty shit. I really don't think Dusko's that good. Now that I've seen him go the distance, I've seen him got finished a few times. Like, I don't think Dusko's that good. And Zach Reese looked like shit in this performance. But the thing with Cedric Dumas is that he doesn't really have the ability to like slam KO Zach Reese. And he doesn't have the ability to survive on the feet long enough with Zach Reese. Like, Zach Reese still lands bombs. But these guys, striking-wise, I think are probably in the same skill level. But Cedric has lower chin HP, and Zach Reese has a little bit more damage on his punches. Both of them aren't really known for good cardio. It's kind of a tougher one than the odds would suggest. If I was an odds maker, I'd probably make this a pick'em fight. Even though it might not look like that when they actually fight. I just don't think Zach Reese should be a minus 200 against, like, anyone with some level of striking. Like, I know Cedric's not, like, a good striker, but fuck, man. Why is he a minus 300? That's like a... It's almost like a whoa. A lot of people are really heavy on this guy for some reason. This is a little bit suspect of a line. I'm going to go with Zach Reese, though. Probably gets the KO. I mean, Cedric did just get finished via bicep by McCall Olenjachuk. And he, you know, like, Cedric wasn't really doing much until he got KO'd anyways. Also, there's the stuff outside of the UFC where he's got an ankle monitor on because he's just, you know, a little bit of burglary going on, I believe. He went into a house stealing objects, I think armed, if I remember correctly. You know, not good times for Cedric Dumas. So I'm going to be rooting for Zach Reese because his name's spelled correctly. And also because he'll be beating up a criminal. So, you know, there's no other reasons why I would be invested into a fight with these two gentlemen and why I'm particularly on one side over the other, okay? You know, race has nothing to do with it. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Zach Reese here. I wouldn't mind Cedric Dumas actually winning. Like, I could see it. I could see him doing it. Like, I could see Zach Reese just gassing out round 3 and just, like, quitting. I think this is going to look a lot like... Ooh. What is this going to look a lot like? This is probably going to look a lot like... who's that guy? Angelusa versus Phil Hawes. If Angelusa was a little bit bigger. I think Zach Reese is probably going to push Cedric a lot. And he's going to try to get the grappling exchange a lot. And Cedric might be able to defend some takedowns. And then by round 3, it's going to be like a little like, ooh, Zach Reese ain't looking good if we make it to round 3. But I do think Zach Reese should be able to finish Cedric Dumas. Dumas literally got finished by a bicep. He looks chinny. I have a feeling there's not a lot of good things going on. He was supposed to fight recently and that pulled out. So I think there's a lot of things going on. I think Cedric is probably going to start early and try to start something. Maybe be like, oh, I really need a paycheck to get bail going, you know, make sure I got bail money. And I think he's gonna get fucking smoked, probably. But, you know, if this does go the distance, I'm gonna be worried in that round 3. And I think Cedric Dumas by finish. Yeah. Nah, I probably wouldn't bet it. But I do think if this does go... Like, if we're outside of round 1 and Zach Reese hasn't at least knocked down Cedric Dumas, we might be looking at a Cedric Dumas pouring on the pressure late and finishing and breaking Zach Reese. I just think he's breakable. I think he's really breakable from his performances we've seen. Moving on, Jesus Aguilar versus Luis Garul. I picked Luis Garul in his last fight. He did get fucked up by Ode Osborne, but we found out Ode Osborne, technically at bantamweight, up a weight class, you know, against Steve Erceg, really ain't that bad. It's really just his IQ. His striking's pretty good. His grappling's all right. And at flyweight, you really need to be good at everything. The fact that Luis Garul got fucked up, though, is kind of where I'm really skeptical of Luis Garul here. Because getting finished by Ode Osborne at flyweight isn't the worst look in hindsight. But Jesus Aguilar, like, this is... It's not the same as his debut, where he's got a dangerous striker who's explosive. But if I remember correctly, Luis was being touted as a striker, not a grappler. So if Luis Garul comes in here and he's like, oh, this guy's going to be not as dangerous, Jesus Aguilar is a fucking worker, bro. Like, Tatsuro, yeah, it is what it is, you know. Rafael Esteban's fucking massive, and if I remember correctly, he actually missed weight in that fight. I might be thinking of his his fight recently, but that might be his fight where he missed weight. Rafael Esteban, big, massive reach. This guy does not have a massive reach. He is also a little older, bro. Jesus Aguilar kind of looking good at this money line. Wait, hold on now. Aguilar just suffers from IQ, where I think Jesus thinks that he's up on rounds when he's hugging someone on the ground, even if he's getting pieced up, you know. And sometimes he does make those mistakes where he ends up on bottom in the grappling, but for the most part, this guy's gonna be smushing Luis Garul, and we're gonna find out if Luis has, like, heart, you know. This is where we're gonna find out, you know, because it's one thing to switch him off like Ode Osborne did, but I think it's another thing to deal with someone just like, almost like a flyweight budget cut Timu Merab, you know, because that's kind of who Jesus Aguilar is. He's not really dangerous on the feet, but, you know, if this guy is going to push a pace, we're in Mexico. If this goes to decision, I know it's flyweight, and Jesus is a tough dude. I'm going to actually pick Jesus here, and I think he's going to win by decision. I think it's going to be 29-28. I think Jesus is going to have one rough round where he makes a mistake in the grappling, shoots like a bad takedown or something. Luis Garul gets a back or something like that. And then I think there's going to be another 2 rounds. Probably the first, Jesus Aguilar comes in Mexico, bright lights, you know, fucks up a little bit, misses the takedown, you know, and then Luis Garul, like, ends up piecing him up a little bit on the feet, and then we get to round 2 and 3, and Aguilar's just fucking on this guy, and Luis Garul's gassing out. We're seeing him break a little bit, and, yeah, overall, I think it's going to be Jesus Aguilar 29-28. Moving on, we have Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos. Heads left, tails right, don't give a fuck. Tails right. We're going with Amanda Lemos. This is the tall lady, right? Never mind. I don't know who the fuck Amanda Lemos is. I'm thinking of, like, some tall, butch-looking woman with reach. Oh, wait. It's coming to me now. Hold on. MMA gods. They're sending the divine... Oh, my God. She's plus 300. Who did she beat? Yasmin Lucinda, okay, you know. Hey, she lost to the great Verna Jandiroba, guys. You know, Verna Jandiroba might be a champion at this point, okay? She beat Mackenzie Dern, though. Huh. What the fuck? Oh, Tatiana Suarez is the wrestler with, like, she lived cancer or some shit, right? It was something like that. And then, she was, like, this really touted wrestler. Everyone's picking her to beat Zhang Weili, and then she gets fucked up by Zhang Weili. I'm pretty sure I even picked Zhang Weili in that fight. But, yeah, I do think... Hold on. Okay. I do think... Bro, both of these women are old. Yikes. I don't know, man. Why is she minus 400? She just got shit on by Zhang Wei, or... Yeah, by Weili Zhang. She actually just got fucking dog walked. This is tough. Do I agree with the coin here? I'm gonna... Fuck it. Fuck it, Weebo. I don't care. Yeah, Tatiana Suarez sucks. Man, Olamos is gonna win 29-28. Yeah. I don't care. Moving on. Claudio Puelles versus Joaquim Silva, the guy who wobbled Arman Sarukian. Probably the last guy to wobble Arman pretty bad. Claudio Puelles, a little bit of a BJJ nerd. You know? But... Bro, these guys are battling for the B-Leagues here. Damn, Joaquim Silva's 36, huh? Huh. Jesus, man. Thanks. Yeah, Joaquim Silva, I think his time's kind of passed. Claudio Puelles here. Kind of interesting. He is a BJJ nerd, and if you do that thing where you let him pull guard and then you just, like, hammer fist him, he probably does get knocked out. But, I mean, this guy beat Clay Guida way more clear than Joaquim Silva did. Joaquim Silva made it pretty close with Clay Guida. You know, that was a 29-28 if I remember. It might have been a 30-27, but I'm pretty sure you could have scored Clay Guida 2-1 in that fight. Bro, I don't trust Joaquim Silva. Like, Joaquim Silva's is almost like a Jai Herbert or like a the guy who fought JDM. Like, he has one really, really good moment against high-level comp like Arman Sarukian. Like, he nearly knocked out Arman Sarukian. And then he loses to Drakkar Klose. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of these guys where he does have something. He will have a big moment. But he has to sort of, like, capitalize on that big moment. And he never does. Ever. So I don't know if I can pick him in this Claudio Puelles fight. Bro, this might be a crazy underdog night. I'm going to go with Claudio Puelles here. Probably by sub. I reckon Joaquim Silva gets guillotined. Yeah, reach advantage. Don't like that. He's taller too. I don't know. He could get chin though. Claudio Puelles doesn't have a great chin, but he's losing to good comp. I don't know, man. This is a tough one. These are some tough fights to predict. I'm gonna go with Puelles though. I just think Puelles. If I'm thinking who is more reliable here, Joaquim Silva by finish. Not really. But Joaquim Silva by decision, which is like typically how he likes to do his fights. Or Claudio Puelles by sub. I reckon if Claudio Puelles gets Silva down once or twice, probably subs him. You know? So, I don't know. I think this is going to be one of those things where it's just like almost like you're watching Brad Tavares. That's kind of who Joaquim Silva reminds me of when he fights. He reminds me a lot of Brad Tavares for some reason. Maybe it's the chin. Maybe it's just the face. I don't know. But reminds me a lot of Brad Tavares where he just doesn't do... Like, there's moments where it's just like, brother, punch now and you win this round, you know? Just throw one more jab and he just doesn't do it. Throw one more cross and you're clearly up in this round. And he just doesn't do it, you know? So, I don't know. I can't really trust it. 36 years old. 69-inch reach. I don't trust this guy anymore, man. I'm going to go with Claudio Puelles. I think he keeps his job via subbing a guy like Joaquim Silva. And we start talking about maybe we should cut this guy. Yeah, I'm going to go with Puelles via sub in round 1. Fuck it. Yeah, I just think Puelles is way better at the grappling than Silva is at, like, trying to get a decision out of a fighter. Because this fight is going to be Silva trying to keep it on the feet. And Puelles' takedowns aren't that good, but I think it'd be easier for him to get a trip or something than Silva to survive. But then again, Puelles doesn't have a lot of cardio. Like, this... This is the thing, man. People forget, man. I'm going to go with Puelles. Fuck it. I'm gonna trust a little bit more. Maybe he gets chinned because he's a BJJ nerd and he can't figure out how to get a takedown. Now I'm thinking about it, man. I'm thinking about it, and I can just picture him getting dropped by right hand and being like, "Three" on the ground. Ah, can he survive? Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Puelles. I'm gonna go with Puelles. Fuck a wee ball. Jose Medina versus Dusko Todorovic. These are two fucking bums. Like, these are the bummiest of the bums. Jose Medina is not a middleweight, right? Not a middleweight. This guy's built for welterweight. I don't know why the fuck he's competing at middleweight. He has zero muscle mass. Dusko Todorovic has the muscle mass. But do you see that fucking neck? Bro, he's the most hittable head of all time. He's been getting finished. He's winless in the UFC, right? No, he does have a win on Jordan Wright. Winless in the last 3 years. Like, he's lost a good comp, to be fair. Bro, minus 310 is kind of crazy. I'm going to pick Dusko. These are two bums. I don't give a fuck about this fight personally. These are two, like, bummiest of the bums. I've seen Dusko do well, though, against a guy like Zach Reese. I saw this guy absolutely fucking quit to Zach Reese. This, like, Jose Medina is like Fluffy Hernandez if you remove 95% of the grappling skill and you took away the chin. And at that point, you just have a dude who stands in front of you, flexing, taunting, who gets boxed the whole time. Like, this guy's a legit punching bag. He doesn't move his fucking head. It's stuck on a cinder block. Dusko has the most hittable head, but he might move it, you know? He might shoot a takedown. Jose Medina is going to look at you, and he's going to hunch over, and he's just going to walk forward. And I think he probably walks forward until one too many right hands gets dropped. And I think Dusko wins via decision based on damage and based on dropping Jose Medina. I do think Dusko is probably going to have a cut or something by the end of this fight. So probably a 29-28 fight. But I think it'll be arguable 30-27. We'll probably see one scorecard for 30-27. No idea why the fuck this guy's fighting on this card. This guy fucking sucks, bro. 34 as well. Like, age disadvantage, height disadvantage. Reach is pretty much the same stats-wise. Dusko, I think skill for skill is better everywhere than Jose Medina. I get why he's the favorite. Being up minus 300, I would never bet. Like, gun to my head, I'm never betting that fucking price tag, you know? So, it is what it is. Moving on, Santiago Luna versus Quang Li. This is a little bit interesting one, because Quang Li is coming off a very impressive win against Gaston Bolaños. That was like a masterclass grappling performance against Gaston Bolaños. And this guy's making a debut. Don't know who the fuck this kid is. Who is this guy? No one knows. 21 years old? Oof. Vietnam, undefeated! Sorry, I've been seeing too many YouTube shorts. Vietnam, undefeated! Good old Quang Li. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Quang Li here. I've just seen Quang Li massacre someone. Bro, the Long Zhao when he got TKO'd, I mean, this guy showcase, he's got a good fucking HP bar, you know? Chris Gutierrez was just able to do his thing, you know? He's good with the tappy kicks. And then he smoked all these, like, LF no one cares, but yeah, you know what? I don't know anything about this kid, but is this his first time making bantamweight? That's a red flag to me. Red flag! Red flag! He's taller. Who cares? Damn, Quang Li's got a 70-inch reach advantage. I feel like that's kind of big, no? Vietnam, undefeated! Yeah, I reckon we see the Mexico guy and Noche get fucked up, to be honest. This is probably just going to be one of those moments where it's just too soon. You know, so I'm gonna go with Quang Li because I don't know who the fuck this other kid is. Don't know who he's beat. To be warranted a near evens here. And I've at least seen Quang Li masterclass a good striker, a pretty good striker. So, yeah, moving on. Alexander Hernandez versus Diego Ferreira. I don't need to look at the stats here. Hernandez is coming off a very impressive win against Chase Hooper. Don't get me wrong. I still don't rate Alexander Hernandez at all. That was more Chase Hooper being an absolute fucking moron, getting hit by the same strike and never adjusting. Hernandez will still just take rounds off and think he's up rounds. He's had a lot of close fights recently. I reckon this is where we get some karma. Karma? I think Carlos Diego Ferreira is a really, really good fighter. And I think he's I think he's Jim Miller tier, just in terms of finishing ability instead of decision ability. Because Jim Miller's tough as fuck. He's got a lot of HP still in the tank. He's skillful everywhere. He's got good jiu-jitsu defensively and offensively, and he's got some good hands. But he's just sometimes too slow. Carlos Diego Ferreira still got speed, at least from his Michael Johnson performance, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, and then what? He got finished by Grant Dawson? Yeah, or decision by Grant Dawson, even better. Yeah, Grant Dawson was just able to Nurmagomedov his way to a decision in that fight, but Diego Ferreira's good, man. Bro, finishing Rebecca is also, in hindsight, really fucking good. Like, Carlos Diego Ferreira is really fucking good. So I'm going to pick Carlos here. He's the underdog? Wow. Wow. This guy lost to Bill Algeo and he's the fucking favorite? Wow. I get it, he's coming off a good win, but you know, people are going to see this 32 years old and be like, yeah, you know, he's the young fighter. He's fresh. He's going to go on a run, you know, potential champ here. Bro, this guy is, in fight years is like 50 years. This guy's like he's like a small Smith. He's been around forever, bro. He's got fights against like everyone. There's Benil Dariush. Can't remember any others off the top of my head, but you know, he's had fights against a lot. I want to say Dan Hooker. Could be wrong there. But I feel like this guy's fought so many different people. He's probably got like 20 plus wins or 20 plus fights, you know? I just don't see, like, he's like a shit Michael Chandler, and I do think Diego Ferreira would beat Michael Chandler. Maybe that's a hot take. But yeah, Diego Ferreira can get pieced up, but he showcased he's got some pretty good HP. I think Chase Hooper just got no chin. He's got no testosterone. What can you say, you know? You can only get as much testosterone as your capacity holds, and Chase Hooper is just, you know, he's born with a debuff. It is what it is. No testosterone in that body. I think Carlos Diego Ferreira gets it done. I think he probably gets it done by finish. I'm going to say guillotine via Alexander Hernandez sticking his head off a bad angled takedown, because he does like to wrestle and he does shoot takedowns at bad times. So yeah, I think Hernandez gets kind of smoked here. I also think because he's on a heat streak now, he's actually more inclined to run it down. Also, I don't think he got pieced up in his last fight against Chase Hooper, but I don't know. I feel like this is just a lot of red flags. I don't like the red flags I have here, you know? Reach advantage for Ferreira, too, and he pieced up Johnson. That win is actually aged pretty well. Johnson's on a kind of a streak right now. Rebecca also is kind of aged well, you know? Yeah, this is you know, this is an interesting fight. I'm pretty excited to see what happens. I'm not like a Hernandez hater. I just don't think he's that good. But maybe he can impress me and finish Ferreira or decision Ferreira. But I don't know. I feel like Diego Ferreira is better than Kurt Holleybaugh, Austin Hubbard, Damon Jackson, and Bill Algeo. I feel like he's just leagues better, you know. And if this was like a featherweight fight against like a really old featherweight dude, like if this was Hernandez, Hani Barcelo's bantamweight. If this was Hernandez, Edson Barbosa, maybe I could be a little bit more interested in Hernandez by KO on a brain-bleeding Edson Barbosa, but I just feel like Diego Ferreira is a little bit better. So yeah, I'm going to go with Ferreira here. We move on to Kelvin Gastelum versus Dustin Stoltzfus. I think this is a layup. Oh, I didn't do a round. We'll do round 2, guillotine. I think this is a layup for good old Kelvin Gastelum here. Joe Pyfer fucked up really bad. Joe Pyfer ended up going into this fight really good round 1, arguably 10-8 because he was whooping Kelvin's fucking ass. Round 2, he gets a clear round, but it was kind of like, it was a clear round, but it was boring as fuck. And if Kelvin shot a takedown or something and got it, it would have been his round. Like one really good right hand, and that's Kelvin's round. And then in round 3, I think it was Kelvin's round pretty clear, but Joe Pyfer very clearly took that off. I'm not a small peen Pyfer glazer, okay? But I do think this was more Joe Pyfer looking like shit was more Joe Pyfer being retarded than Kelvin Gastelum being good, if you know what I mean. Then the Kelvin had a fight with Daniel Rodriguez where he missed weight by 10 pounds, forced Daniel Rodriguez up 10 pounds for a catchweight fight, and then he laid on Daniel Rodriguez. Couldn't even finish him, even though he's a fat fuck with that big of a weight advantage. Then he gets laid on when he actually locks in and makes weight at his proper weight class. Chris Curtis was also a robbery, head clash, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Yeah, Kelvin Gastelum is dog shit, but I think this is a layup for him to get a win. And for Dustin Saltzfist, Dustin's really good, but he is the type of dude to be winning. He's doing well, goes for a guillotine, ends up on bottom, and now Kelvin Gastelum's laying on him, you know? I have no doubt in my mind Dustin Saltzfist is going to have moments in this fight where he's piecing up Kelvin Gastelum, whooping Kelvin Gastelum, wobbling Kelvin Gastelum. Bro, people forget, man, Dustin Saltzfist hits like a fucking truck, you know? So, Dustin Saltzfist, I think, is good value here if you're on the Stoltzer side. I'm personally not. I'm going to be on the Kelvin side. Probably the first fight I'm ever picking Kelvin Gastelum. Yeah. Since I've been doing predictions, so it's probably the first time I'm picking Kelvin. I just think Stoltzfus is prone for getting laid on and elbowed whenever he goes for a submission. If I remember correctly, he did it a lot in Ruzabov's fight where he just ended up on bottom and Ruzabov just laid on him. I don't think Kelvin is actually as good as Ruzabov, but I think he's tough enough to survive. He's Mexican, so they're gonna... You know, if we're in a wonky situation, sloppy rounds, they're probably going to lean Kelvin Gastelum at Noche. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend like rigging's not a thing. I have no doubt in my mind, this screams, absolutely screams. Arguably, Dustin Saltzfus won this fight. I'm going to be interested to see the decision here. 30-27, 30-27, and 30-27 by your winner by unanimous decision, Kelvin Gastelum. And everyone's like, what? 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 You know? Like, I have no doubt this screams it's going to be one of those robbery fights. But yeah, I just think Kelvin's more likely to take advantage off of Dustin doing something stupid. And he's going to keep his 50-50 record. He genuinely his 50-50 record. Being 20-10 in the UFC. Jesus Christ, I fucking hate Kelvin. But I'm gonna pick him. Yeah, I mean, I just can't trust Stoltzfus that much. He's good, and I don't mind him winning this. Like, if Stoltzfus chins Kelvin Gastelum or subs Kelvin doing something fucking stupid, I don't even mind that, to be honest with you. But, yeah, I'm gonna pick Dustin here. Or, sorry, I'm gonna pick Gastelum. Just a little bit more reliable, and I'm picking for a win rate here, so... Yeah, going with Kelvin Gastelum. Moving on, we have Jared Gordon versus Rafa Garcia. When the fuck did they find this picture? When did he have this hairline? Oh my god. This guy looks like Gargamel mixed with fucking Ryan Reynolds. What the hell is this? Mark Wahlberg, Ryan Reynolds fucked a fucking Gargamel, you know? What the fuck am I looking at? Rafa Garcia really looked like he was quitting in his last fight against Vince Pichel. Pichel, he just was too slow and not fast enough to really deal with Rafa Garcia's speed. But Rafa will just stand in front of you and not do much and shoot bad takedowns. And because of that, I reckon we get a vintage Flash Gordon TKO similar to his last fight. I think Rafa's going to shoot like a bad takedown. And I just see Jared Gordon knee up the middle, check hook, fucking puts Rafa Garcia to sleep. This guy's been wobbled in the past pretty bad as well. Bro, KO'd by Grant Dawson's a really bad look. A very bad look. Even though it's ground and pound, but still. I think that's the fight where Grant Dawson came out like a fucking world beater and just beat the shit out of him. Yeah, I don't rate any of these wins either. Machete shit win. Losing to Drakkar Klose is just a big red flag. Jared Gordon is dumb. He's prone to be looking dumb. He did beat Paddy Pimblett. That needs to be mentioned. He did 30-27 Paddy Pimblett. No doubt in my mind he did. I remember watching that fight. That was one of the first fights that I thought I could genuinely beat a UFC fighter because how shit Paddy Pimblett looked. And it genuinely made me rethink my whole life, and I went on a weight loss journey. I was 300 pounds when that happened. Holy shit, man. And now we're 190, baby. Anyways, little teaser for what's to come. But Jared Gordon, I think, is pretty reliable here. Jared Gordon's pretty fucking good with his hands. He's just a little dumb at times. His IQ is very questionable. So if he loses this fight, it's because he looked dumb. Like, oh, he shot a takedown, and his takedown defense just all of a sudden, looks like shit, okay? To quote a great Mexican martial arts YouTuber. One of the first YouTube channels I watched in the MMA space. Shout out to Mexican martial arts, aka MMA. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Jared Flash Gordon, man. I think we're gonna see a vintage Flash Gordon get in there and fucking KO this kid. You know, Thiago Moises, I genuinely think, is a way better opponent than Rafa Garcia. He is the better Rafa Garcia, skill for skill. Just has maybe a worse chin. But Rafa Garcia hasn't been tested too much against, like, a good striker. So, I think this is where we're going to see him chinned. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Jared Gordon here. Moving on, Rob Font versus David Martinez. David Martinez. Don't remember much of this guy's performance. Simon Oliveira. I don't remember this fight. Even though it did happen recently, huh? I'm gonna go with vintage Rob Font here. Rob Font is fairly consistent at being Rob Font. If it's a striking fight, he will win. He will get wobbled, but he will win if it's a primarily striking fight. And you kind of have to out-grapple him in order to win. And you know what? I wasn't with Rob Font on the Adrian Yanez fight. I did pick Corey Sandhagen to beat him back in the day. I think he even put money on that. I did pick Figueiredo to beat him back in the day. Kyler Phillips, I picked him to beat Kyler Phillips, and I picked him to beat Gene Matsumoto. I'm very confident. I was very confident in those picks, despite the community being against me. Okay, but I do think this is gonna be vintage Rob Font. This is where we're gonna see a Rob Font masterclass. Stuffs takedown, survives on the ground, and just boxes up this guy, or he gets his takedown of his own. You know, Rob Font's pretty good, like everywhere. He's just a little old. He's got not the greatest chin, but until it cracks, I'm gonna keep on riding the Rob Font train. So we're gonna go with Rob Font here via decision. I can't remember much of this David Martinez guy. This is short notice. If I remember, like a week. I can't trust that against a crafty vet that throws big meaty hooks like Rob Font. Come on now. Moving on to the main event. Diego Lopez versus Gene Silva. Now this is my most anticipated fight that I've heard announced. You know, JDM Islam's fun. I love this fight. I love Diego Lopez so much. I love watching all of his fights. I love how he slaughtered everyone he's supposed to slaughter. And then he goes against Volk. And yeah, he doesn't get the job done. But it's quite clear he wanted to go in there and KO him. He just couldn't KO him. All of a sudden, Volk had a fucking iron chin after being knocked down. I don't know. He activated the secret third phase. You know, he activated that third act of Volkanovski and he fucking awoke. And Volk just came in looking like Prime Volk. But, bro, a lot of people are going to be like, oh my god, Volk outboxed Diego Lopez. Volk was outdoing Diego Lopez everywhere. Volk channeled his inner Yusuf Zalal. Okay? He channeled his inner... Who's that guy at light heavyweight? Carlos... Starts with a C. Oh, fuck. Olberg. Carlos Olberg? I want to say... Channeled his inner... Carlos Olberg, okay? Yusuf Zalal, Calvin Kattar, okay? And he was tappy tap, run away, get into one exchange that he knows is safe. He'll get in there, do a safe exchange, and run away. That's what Volk was doing. No shade. Because that's what you want to do. Bro, Lopez. If you get in the pocket with Lopez, you're getting in there with a fucking blender, okay? Pound for pound, speed-wise, Lopez might have the fastest hands of all time. I do genuinely still think Lopez is the style to beat Ilia Topuria, and I do think Diego Lopez can contest with Ilia Topuria striking in terms of speed, not technique, speed, okay? And this is a very interesting one, because Gene Silva He's on a tear. I've been 100% correct. And before, like, anyone thinks, like, I'm biased towards one of these fighters, I like both of these fighters. Let me just get that out of the way, okay? Despite his lackluster performance against Weston Wilson, okay? Charles Jourdain knocking out a Canadian, okay? You know, it was a sacrifice that needed to be made in order for the Fighting Nerds to have popularity. Just saying, okay? But the last bastion of the Fighting Nerds here, you know, the Drew Dober up a weight class, sick performance. Melsek Bogdasarian, shit fighter, but great performance. And then he beat Bryce Mitchell pretty much exactly like I thought he would. And he subbed Bryce Mitchell. So, it surprised me that he subbed him, but I thought he was going to whoop him on the feet. But something that needs to be mentioned, Bryce Mitchell is a bantamweight. So technically, Gene Silva kind of just beat a bantamweight. Okay, it's a good win. I like Gene Silva. It's a good win. He did just beat a bantamweight, to be fair, guys. Just saying. And then Melsek Bogdasarian. Do you know who that is? Bullshit. Name one fight outside of the Gene Silva one. Do it. You don't. You can't. You just fucking can't. But yeah, Melsek Bogdasarian fucking sucks. But he whooped him. Great win. He crushed a can. At Drew Dober up a weight class. Drew Dober kind of hasn't had it since he got chinned from Steamroller Frivola. Hey, what can I say? Gingers. Hey, we change people's careers, okay? Diego Lopez, despite him getting hit in the Volk fight, he was hit with some very clean shots. I know it's Volk. Those shots genuinely put out, I think, 90% of the roster at featherweight. If he lands those shots on Lerone Murphy's going out cold. Some of those right hands that Volk was landing. And Lopez took it well. Now, he is tough. So I'm not worried about Lopez getting finished on the feet here. You know, I'm not worried about him getting chinned, despite his tick that he does and him leaving himself open with that, and despite him sort of not really having a lot of head movement. I'm not worried about him getting chinned in this fight. What I do think is going to happen, like, people are looking at this fight and they're thinking, oh, Diego Lopez is open because he has this tick. Oh, Diego Lopez just got beat by a washed Volkanovski. Oh, Diego Lopez, who has he really beat? He masterclassed Brian Ortega, sleeping him in the first. And he said before the fight that he wanted to submit him. And you could tell, even after knocking down Brian Ortega and whooping Brian Ortega on the feet, he constantly tried to go for a submission on Brian Ortega, which is a hard thing to do. It's not a good win on Brian. It's a good win on Brian Ortega. Maybe not in big 2025, right? This was 2024 to be fair. But he did whoop Brian Ortega and try to, like, submit Brian Ortega. That's better than Aljo. Just saying. Okay, that's better than what Aljo did. And who else did Brian Ortega fight? I mean, yeah, you're fucking lost to Brian Ortega. Anyways, Dan Ige. That was, I don't look at this fight as a normal Lopez. Bro, this guy made weight 3 times within 24 hours. And he had 3 different opponents. There was no game plan. Like, literally within an hour of the fight, he was announced that he was fighting Dan Ige. And it was literally, like, up a shit ton of weight. He was fighting a guy heavier than him. You could make the argument, I guess, more in shape, though, because he's training camp. But he was preparing for a completely different opponent in Brian Ortega, and then he gets a tough striker. He goes from a good grappler, who's tough, to a pretty okay striker, anti-grappler. Like, they're similar but different in their own respects. I think you gotta have a different game plan for Dan Ige, and he adjusted well in that fight. Almost got finished in the third. Or he's getting whooped in the third, to be fair, but he was whooping him for rounds 1 and 2, and that was a prime Dan Ige. That was Dan Ige with a bun in the oven, okay? People know. You know, whooped Sadiq Youssef, and I want to say the first round, whooped Sabatini, and that win has actually aged pretty well, because Sabatini, if I remember correctly, is on a heater. Gene Silva wins are worse than Lopez wins. That's what I'll say. Lopez's loss is to Volkanovski and Mozavar Evloev. Both names, I think, beat Gene Silva. Just saying. So this fight, I think we're going to see Lopez, and a lot of people are like, oh, Lopez has his tick. Oh, Lopez doesn't move his head. Gene Silva has a long stance asking to be leg kicked 24/7. Lopez doesn't really leg kick, to be fair, right? But Gene Silva will also look at you and bark. He'll try to aura farm against a guy who has the fastest hands in the division. If this guy tries to flex and do a no look or whatever, buddy, this is going to look a lot like Huffy versus Benoit Saint Denis in the striking, okay? This is going to look a lot like a fucking masterclass from Lopez if Gene Silva wants to try to get away with flexing, you know? And there's a lot of pressure on Gene Silva now. Bro, this guy came in. He's young as fuck, to be fair. So I'm not like, this guy's never going to be a champion or whatever. This guy is on a heater. Bro, this guy, don't get me wrong, is good, but he's gotten pieced up in his fights before. And he's showcased a good shin against not dangerous strikers. Lopez has the power to put you out. What fighter has this guy fought with the power to put you out in a punch? In one combo? No one. Lopez is different, bro. He built different. So I'm 10 toes down on Diego Lopez. This is even before the Fighting Nerds got fraud checked. I think Lopez is great here. A 5-round fight. Gene Silva hasn't done a 5-round fight. Bro, I think we're going to see a Lopez break Gene Silva over time. I think round 1 will go Gene Silva's way. I think it's going to be a lot of Lopez trying to get the early butterflies out now that he's in the losing column. But he's been here before. He's lost before. And then he went on a run to become champion. Or fight for the belt, I should say. Gene Silva's still on that run, and we haven't seen him really deal with someone break him, you know? We haven't seen this guy deal with a lot of struggle, you know? He whooped Bryce Mitchell. That's a bantamweight fighting at featherweight. Just saying, man. You know? Like, that's where it's just like kind of, you lost me with this Gene Silva ideal. But I do like Gene Silva. I don't mind him winning. And I think if he does win, it'd be a sick, like, something. You know, maybe a sick sub, maybe a sick whatever. But I also think if we look at grappling, bro, Diego Lopez, I think, is leagues better. If Mozavar was smart and he tapped to the knee bar, he would have had the rest of his career. But because of Diego Lopez, Mozavar can't fight more than one time a year because he has to get a knee surgery every year. Lopez was that reason. He tore apart his knee via knee bar. If Lopez gets a hold of Gene Silva, bro, Gene Silva's gonna have a rough time, bro. Reach disadvantage too with the guy who's karate. And I can't pick Gene Silva. I can't. As much as I like, bro, I disagree with these odds heavily. I think this should be a pick'em. As much as I think it's more fun for the sport to have Fighting Nerds, and I think it's more fun for the sport for Gene Silva to win, I think Diego Lopez is genuinely better everywhere. And the only thing he's not better at is maybe reacting to strikes. Like, the only time I see Gene Silva, like, winning this is Diego Lopez just not reacting properly to strikes, you know? Like, when he gets hit and his hair is fucking going everywhere because he has a really big mohawk, maybe that looks really bad for the judges and the judges go against Lopez. But again, Lopez is, I'm pretty sure, is half Mexican? I think he's half Brazilian and Mexican. I think they're more inclined to go with Diego Lopez on the judges' scorecard if we're looking at a close round here. You know, let's not pretend like rigging isn't a thing. They just 50-45'd Amavov versus Barajalio, a Fighting Nerd in France. This could be a similar situation where we're looking at Lopez 50-45, even though there was a lot of rounds that are close. So I'm gonna be stellar for this fight, bro. I'm gonna be fucking. I'm excited for this fight. I don't care who wins, because I think it's good for the sport regardless, because these are two killers. I think it's a little bit better for the sport if Gene Silva wins. I think Diego Lopez is probably a little bit better here to win. So I'm probably going to put a nice tenner on Diego Lopez. Full transparency. Yeah, I just think he's the better fighter everywhere. You know, the only thing, like, I'm really concerned with is maybe head movement. But Gene Silva's fought a lot of victims that will allow him to bark in his face. You bark in Lopez's face, he's tearing your head off before you finish barking. Just saying. So yeah, I'm going to go with Diego Lopez. I think he gets it done probably a little earlier. I want to say round 2, round 3. I'm going to go with round 2. I think he gets the KO. I just think he's going to land so many strikes at some point with his combos. And I'm not just basing this off pad work. I've seen him go in there and land like 5 shots within a millisecond, sleeping an opponent and waking him up with the same strike. Like, the only thing you can really knock Diego Lopez striking for is that it's so good and so fast that he wakes up his opponents while also sleeping them. That's how I see it, you know? And other than that, he deals bad with people who are tough enough to survive on the back foot for 5 rounds. Wow. Crazy. Or boring grapplers. Gene Silva's not that, so I think you got to be boring to beat Lopez. Gene Silva's not going to be boring. He's going to want it and go in there and try to get it. And he's not going to get it, in my opinion. But that's my picks and predictions. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, I want to thank you for watching. And as always, I hope you have a good day.